welcome to the Our Barn Community Podcast. Here in the studio, well, actually, not in the studio, but in our virtual studio is Michael Collier. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, David, and thank you and your viewers for inviting me on this occasion.
Oh, it's our pleasure, Michael. We go back donkeys. I think that's the word you used.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for some of your viewers, for some of the viewers which are listening to your show, you already will know the stories and how me and David met. But for some of you which may think like, well, who's this this guy? And how the heck does he know David? What the heck does he involve with donkeys, for goodness sake? Well, the thing is, dear viewers, me and David go back quite a long way. I probably would say for several years now. And the way it all started out was when I was like in my early teens, so like early school years. And how it mainly worked out for me was I was part of this youth club, which was part of this youth club. And if anyone wants to know what the youth club is, well, it was the Camden Youth Club. And what it was on every Wednesday. And I remember it was from 7 till 9, or somewhere along there. And it all started, and also I met David at the youth club, and I think when they were there, they were talking about letting the law of the land and making a bill of rights or a bill of sale, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And what it was when I was there, we talked about the law of the land, we talked about what of the rules to be a part of the youth club and that kind of thing. And you could probably say that I came to and you could probably say, if you're very wise, that I came at the right moment and at the right time, because I think it was the first time I was at the youth club. And now, since I was there, what happened was, which I basically found quite funny, was here comes this new guy, comes into the youth club, and right off the bat, he says some interesting new ground rules straight away. For example, straight away, which I think that for some of the peers was a bit surprised. So I won't say all of it, but some of them were, at the end of the day, were like, your office, no swearing, that everyone should be fair, should be fair. We should all be fair, whatever, except etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, that's when I met David. And it all started when I met David. We had no acquaintances. And that's how it all started. Plus, at the time, David was part of the Princess Trust, which I think many of your viewers will be cool. Which many of you may know and be cool. And it's on that we managed to have a bit of a healthy relationship, which has continued strong ever since.
Absolutely. If we rewind the years, actually, Michael, we span a couple of sites, don't we? So started down in Clarendon, Hampton, and then a few years later we end up in the new site in Twickenham, the new school, and we hope to get back there soon.
Yeah, I know that for any of your viewers wondering about what's this interesting about this youth club and how well it is compared to the old one, I probably would say it's great, unless of course you like all small places, because what was great about the old youth club, or present my old school, was when you went in there and you went to the main sports hall, sports hall. It was a very nice big sports hall. You used to have a array of benches and chairs. In fact, I always used to joke about the sports hall, how it became like a sports hall conference room, because that's where we had assemblies, and sports. And it was this great big sporting space. which I was very fortunate because some schools had this mega sports space. It was the size of like size of a warehouse, and
Hmm.
like some of them are like some of the size of like a large studio to like dining room to living room if you didn't put the wall of extension. And I just thought to myself at the end, I just thought to myself that yeah, it was absolutely a great space. Now, what I think about the CD Club, I think it's really good. I think that is much more lively, and I think the outdoor space is more, much go out there. I think, and the sporting space is also great. However, if you're a person up there who don't like crowd spaces or that kind of thing, I'm afraid to disappoint you. The small court room is not as big as it was because it's just limited, but nonetheless, it's actually a really good youth club. So really good
It's
youth
a
club.
very
So,
modern space, isn't it, Michael?
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's interested, some recommend you should go and have a little taste, have a little taste to see if Mr. Bingle
Cool.
But yeah, it was a great sports space nonetheless, and I think that by adding refreshing space and bringing like this chair whack, which I was quite amazed when I was there because I remember that, and I suppose most of you viewers will know, well, unless you're pretty new to this, is that back in the day, sorry, that may sound like an old-fashioned, it may sound
Back in the day.
may not sound like in my 50s or 60s or something, but back in my day, how we used to do was we used to carry our chairs to assembly, or if somebody couldn't afford taking their chairs, we used to put them stacks and take them into assembly. And what I remember, when I went in and I saw the wax of chairs, I thought to myself, what I think, and I was quite sad, and I thought to myself, you know what? I think they haven't had this good. I think they're very fortunate to have all this stuff in, because I think all this stuff in. Because don't get me wrong, that the chairs were quite good and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, when I saw it, it made me a bit happy and sad in a way that that space, the chairs. On the one hand, I was delighted that the next generation, or how many generations down the line, personally, were able to use the space. Whilst I was a bit sad, saying, well, it's all last week, and I'm just curious, well, and I'm not saying it's in a generous way, because I know that, certain like people which have been in this sort of position, or like some of you viewers, you were like in the work establishment, those who were about the college, or you were about to retire or something. You suddenly, it's a bit sad that I'm going to miss it, or could this become money? But nevertheless, that this space will be used to its good perfections, and also, and hopefully, it will actually help future generations at the main school compared to when I was there, where we did have no chair whack. Some of the computers were pretty outdated. I think one where you had to like a Windows 95 computer. Yes, that's how bad it was. That's Sherman. That's how bad it was. So well fashioned, eh? That kind of thing. And I remember there was one time, I think it was in year 10. Most of the lockers were badly bashed up, as if it was like in a kennel, or like you had a lot of like bulldogs or mastiffs or any strong dogs just bashing against the side of it. And there were times when you get into the locker, you had to really push the you had to use your knuckles just to open the darn thing because it was all mainly jammed. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm somewhat glad that the next generation of people at the school will use it and hope to come to fruition. Which is why that if you're personally likes fresh spaces and that kind of thing, then the youth can maybe be good for you.
Yeah, I have loads of fond, like some of my fondest memories down at the old Clarendon site, but things change, people change, and I think everybody has like you were talking about old technology. I think everybody's moved on to the new. So we're really proud of what the guys have created over in the Twickenham site now. It's really cool.
Okay.
So we picked up our journey. So it started with Clarendon, and obviously you've been volunteering and keeping really busy in the community ever since we've kind of known each other. But you were well, we were very lucky and happy to have you as an Our Futures member.
Yes. Yeah, that was actually well, yeah, I was going to come to that. Yes, it was actually a very interesting journey of how I got onto the Arbonne program. I was to get onto the Arbonne program, and the way I got onto it, was a bit of a long story, but I'll try in the end to simplify the trim for you. You see, how it started off back a few years ago. I just finished going to gardening. I just mainly finished going to Capel Manor, which is a gardening college. If any of you are interested, or it's your first time hearing of it, which I recommend you should look it up. But I can tell you about that later on during this podcast. Yes, so when I was at Capel Manor College, I just finished at Capel Manor College, and to be honest with you viewers, I didn't have let's just say, not a nice experience throughout, because when I was at Capel Manor, don't get me wrong, it was a great college, staff were great, and a hell of a lot of stuff there, which I thought was absolutely great. But I just didn't feel very comfortable when I was at Capel Manor. It wasn't because of the teachers, it's just that it's because when I was at Capel Manor College, I was trying to deal with certain issues, because you see, back in 2017, when I was finishing off at Wisbech upon Thames College, I was not very, let's just say it was not really it was not a good time. Like, I was leaving there, no defense, I was leaving there, I was feeling a bit here and there about things, and I was questioning about, I was just questioning within my summer week about when I was at school and college. And then all throughout Capel Manor, I was just thinking about, not just about the plants and that kind of thing, but I was also, it was just a bit of like a rocky road, as I once said in a presentation. I
remember.
But then what happened was when I started to join Arbonne, it was when I was get my stuff in order. I was thinking about, considering what to do next and strategize about strategically about what to do next. And and that's how the Arbonne program came in. Yes, it was how that came into fruition. There was one time I was with David, and there was one time where while I was pretty busy one day, my mum came over to me and said, "Oh, Mike, have you heard about this interesting job program?" I said, "Well, what job program is this?" I said, "Well, this is this new program called the Arbonne Community Service." And at first I was a bit skeptical, because I was a bit skeptical about the program, because before I was with the Arbonne Community, I went to several of these job experiences, work experiences, workshops and schools. And telling you the honest truth, it was not really good. They were a bit here and there. Because the reason why they were here and there was that it was either, did me enough to do it. They either did push me enough to do it, although being that I might find certain bites, but I just didn't feel that they didn't offer something to the table. Well, the third thing about them was, and I've noticed this quite a lot, was they said they promised that they would try to give me and what it wasn't really learning about jobs. It was either I learned about this from previous experiences, or I've heard from other gardening sites. So what it was, the major problem with many of these gardening these job hunting workshops is simply because that it was either I learned the stuff before certain workshops, or they claimed they were trying to get me into certain work experiences which were partially successful. It was either work experiences which I'd done in the past which was similar, or I just didn't think else something to the table. So when it came to so at the end of the day, when it came to like the work experience, so that at the end of the day, when I finished with all these job searchings, then while they maybe were a bit draconian, but not so draconian in a certain way, I just felt that they could offer more meat to the table, more meat, and hence they could put a bit of salt, pepper, or try and make it a bit of like a tenderloin or a bit of a Angus, but that's another story. But yeah, I just think to myself, as I said, they were good, but they just felt at they were just about at the first hurdle for me. And this is why I decided to give Arbonne Community a go, because seeing in my previous experiences and seeing the fact that I was playing well, I decided to give this one last shot. And what was actually quite good is I managed to make that shot, because when I joined the Arbonne program, it was actually quite good. I managed to learn some skills and uncover job places. I managed to successfully get used to it, get some fresh new skills, and I managed to find some interesting work experiences. And I know that there were certain bits there which I wasn't really I know there were certain bits, and I know there were certain I may not have found a job per se. At least it managed to motivate me to try to search for future opportunities in jobs. And from that point onwards, I started to partially thanks to Arbonne, for that matter, I managed to think about expanding my job opportunities and broaden my horizons.
I think it'd be a nice moment to mention Cultivate London and Arbonne.
I was actually going to go to that. So and it was also developed with Arbonne. I also got introduced to Cultivate London, which was at the time was founded by a man called Arbonne. And how I met him was there was one time they came for a demo about how you plant like certain trees. For a demo about how do you plant, say for example, you lived in a place where you didn't have a garden, or the place was so cramped you could flow in like that you could flow in so big that you could flow in like a bit of a horse in there. And how it worked, he came in, taught how you were like in cramped places or something. You can quickly or you just go a window ledge. What you do is pretty simple. Get some basil or something. Get you have plastic bottle, big or anything you can find, and then you start basically. So you start growing basil or herbs, and then from that you can grow tomatoes and certain other vegetables, basic vegetables which you can grow in your own home. And to think that it's all because of that plastic bottle you consider throwing away, or that tiny piece of or that tiny ornament that you think of throwing away can actually put some good use. And from there, that's how I met. That's how I mainly met. Met Arbonne. Went very well. Not only managed to have a good relationship, but I also had a somewhat of a successful time with him, because after going around, because after going around the forest several times trying to, so after going around certain places trying to find him, as if said I was running through like a dense forest. I managed to find him, which was actually intriguing. Although his office was questionable, but there you go. So when I first met him, how it mainly worked out was that he obviously didn't have any work, so he didn't have any work enough. So what happened was we decided to so what he decided was that he was going to plan, and he was going to wait till summer and spring ended, so because I did that's the main part where he started growing crops. But also in the summertime there was going to be a lot of demand for for example, of hiring landscapers, maintenance work, all the main jobs which you normally assume which happened maybe in the late winter and the spring, and the spring will actually happen in the summer. So that was quite interesting for some of you. So that's quite interesting for so in the summer. So and that's a bit of debunk for you gardening lot, which I want to give you a lot. So when I finished speaking, so I'll just speak to him. Managed to get a call from him, and then from there I managed to go to St. Brentford's Church. Let's go to Brentford, which it was actually a great time. I'll give you that in a second. So what happens is, managed to go to Brentford, to St. Mary's Church in Brentford, which if it's your first time or trying to find, it's your first time of hearing about certain churches in your neighbourhood, or you're one of these people like hunting churches for your own gain. It was right next to the Bramford County Court and the next to the Beehive, and next to the furthest Beehive in on Brentford Road. So have a quick look next time you're passing like Morrison's or the Brentford County Court, because you won't miss, because it just links by. So after I get there, what it was mainly meeting the team. It was a nice selection team from team from St. David's. I think we had some nationalities as well, from some Londoners to some Europeans. I think we had a Italian on the team, which really was quite nice and cool. And all it was mainly was just like usual, clear up the church courtyard, clear all the brambles, the weeds, all that kind of thing. Put it into barrows, and then once we mainly done all the work there, we just gave the place a nice clean over, put the tools away, and then we just went on to our merry way. And the fact about that was that when I was just mainly doing the work, of doing like main gardening lots and work with the team. Not only there's some interesting skills from that, but I also got introduced to what I felt like if I did it like full time from dawn till dusk. So that was quite interesting. And since then, I've got into gardening. I've been thinking about, and in case some of you even know curious about, does Michael want to get into gardening? Then yes, I am interested in gardening. I've been even thinking about hopefully maybe later in the year, I may consider buying some plants or maybe my own vegetables. And what I may even considering about doing is that just putting my garden space in it, just to make it nice and I hope it becomes a bit of an awesome.
Michael, I had an email yesterday from Arbonne, so he's kind of reached out again. He asked me to give him a call, so I'll make sure to mention your name if you're still interested.
Yeah, great. Cheers, David.
Great. That brings us on to a nice trip down to Brentford. We got to see the old Griffin Park in its last few days.
Oh yes. Now that was an interesting experience. Now, for some of you who you're diehard football fans or your Brentford supporters up there, you will know what I'm coming to. And just want to say quickly, shout out to all the Brentford fans out there. Just want to say you're doing very well at the moment. You know, I think last time I checked, you were third in the championship. And I know that I think that if you carry this up, I think you can make it to the Premier League, which I think that you could become the next Everton. So just want to say a quick shout to the Brentford supporters out there, saying that Brentford and the club that you're doing very well, and I hope you make it, and I hope you get promoted to the Premier League. But back to Griffin Park. So yes, so
you interviewed you interviewed Thomas Frank, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm going to come to that in a second.
Oh yeah.
This was at the last stage when I was part of the course, and it all started when a person called Lewis, he was part of the course, and yeah, Lewis was an interesting chap. He was always very curious, and he was always willing to learn certain subjects, and yeah, over time, me and Lewis had somewhat of a good bond. And what it was very interesting about was in the final chapters of me part of the Arbor Committee, and I think especially before I was doing a presentation at the Hampton Steelworks, and the Hampton Steelworks, which in case you want to make, it's a great museum, so I recommend that, but I'll tell you about that later on. Yeah, and before the Steelworks, he said to me, well, Mike, seeing the fact you're a very interesting bloke and seeing you're very nice, how do you think about maybe, do you want to come down to Brentford FC? Now, at first, and see the stadium before it gets demolished and they get this big one which looks like the Stadium of Light in Chiswick. And I thought to myself, and the thing is, when it comes to me in football, I'm kind of unaffiliated. I'm not really the football type. I like knowing about football and I like how the game plays, the strategy, how the formats, and I want to observe certain clubs, certain leagues, how well they're doing. But saying that this was an interesting competition, saying this was an interesting, development, I decided to say, well, as well. And so I possessed during the evening after I did a competition, and I was having a conversation, and just missed the post of having a quick McDonald's. Yes, that's McDonald's, but as I say, it's McDonald's because at the end of the day, it's Mac. And if you are a McDonald's supporter, think it's not, well, that's hard cheese for you. That's hard cheese for you. So it's hard cheese, and I think that you may not want to hear about hard cheese, and you may want to find somebody who has to support McDonald's stuff. So McDonald's something. What it was something. We met at the we mainly met at the McDonald's. We just had the main chat. Yeah, just a quick chat before we went down to Griffin Park, which was actually quite interesting experience because when I went there, not only looked like something from a TV series about you just walk in, you see old donkeys, and you expect, and you meet the manager. You hear ominous music, and then he gets into the series like chapter 3 after this guy meets this manager, Tempest Fair, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was quite good. Went into the stadium, managed to had a good look see. And what was actually quite great about the stadium was not only that it was quite, because don't forget this was like in December. Obviously, you had like lots of donkeys, including this person focusing like the lifeguards, even though he looked like a man from the YMCA. He was thinking he was going to do a bit of a jig. But that's another story. So that was also good when I spotted that was good when I went around the corner. And the biggest surprise, and this was the first time this has actually occurred, which I was very on the ball and very grateful for meeting him. So I actually met the manager of Brentford FC. And what happened was before that, I did a bit of research, a bit of skullduggery into him. And what I found out was he was a very high successful manager from Sweden. Yeah, because he was very well in certain Swedish leagues and well in certain places around Europe, and so successful. And what happened was I caught him out when he was talking about, on Sky News about how this could be a dawn of a new era for the club and how he could take this to brand new to new heights. And as soon as the interview was over, I not only went over and shook his hand and also photo with him, and had a little chat, but also congratulated where he was, and I wished his club all the best of luck or Becky if you think that saying good luck to a football manager on the day is still bad luck. And yeah, it was a really great chance meeting. And since then, I have somewhat had partially have supported Brentford FC ever since. And I think that was actually that was good, despite for somebody who is a bit unaffiliated in the sports world. And yeah, after that, I had a quick look on the ground, saw the famous Brentford players there here and there. Met all the players, which was very nice. And as one pig once said in Amble Farm, some players were better than others. And yeah, it was very nice. I had a quick look around the stadium. And what was even great, it was the first time I actually saw the innest part of the stadium. And saw all the banners and all the banners, like the wall banners and the main banners on the stadium, as you get in a football stadium. And it was absolutely a great experience. So much of a great experience of that I bought myself a very special tankard. Bought myself a Brentford pint glass in the moment of getting that. Because I'm saying about getting a tankard, my thoughts are, yeah, well, tankards are really a bit somewhat out of fashion these days, and that's because you're one of these tankard, well, that's because you're one of these people which like to have a good old drink from tankard. But yeah, I managed to get myself a pint glass, and yeah, it was actually quite good, to may say so. And then when the whole thing was mainly over, I was actually very pleased and delighted. Not only I saw a piece of history which was about to get demolished, and I was going to be one of the very few people who saw it and got the evidence for it, but it was absolutely a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
You definitely got behind the scenes, didn't you, Michael?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And for any of you which are curious about how well the Brentford did last season, well, it was a bit of Cosi comme ça, as it were, because on the one hand, they did make it to the playoffs, and it seemed they were going to do well, but Wanderers lost one game after another, and after Fulham narrowly beating them 1-0, they sadly lost their place in the one-offs. But in my opinion, seeing the Premier League this season, how close has been mainly been very brilliant. It may be somewhat better that Brentford did not get promoted to the club, because after all, we've seen like in the Premier League, and Man City's on the plough, Man United's doing well. The bottom's very messy. In fact, Fulham is on the verge of breaking out, and many of the clubs below 15 are pretty messy. And if Brentford were going to get promoted to that league, what could happen would be they could have actually got, I would be like where Crystal Palace is now, or goodness knows, could be it could be where the Wolves are. Could be like between 11 to 15. So in a way, it was kind of a good time. It was somewhat a good idea not to do it, so that was quite good.
Cool. Let's push forward, Michael. Time is of the essence. You're very passionate about the environment, Michael.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely. Because I think that it's very important in this day and age that we should address with the environment, especially about what is going on at the moment of entering this new green revolution that we're about to enter. How I stand on the issue is I see it as a double-edged sword, to be honest with you, because on the one hand, yes, it's great that we're finally getting this onwards. We're starting to plant green spaces. It's going to make, move away from the district fuels and move away from moving away from the Victorian day of age where we relied on too many types of fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas, etc. And I'm finding it is a great way that we're moving on from that. the problem I got is it whilst we're starting to do it, are we more of like panicking, or are we actually thinking this through? Because at the end of the day, desperate times call for desperate measures. And how I say it is, I gave you an example for a way to see where I come from. A few days or several years ago, the UN committee based on the climate change report, and all the major scientists was monitoring climate change, stated that we got a very slim window to reverse climate change. And you're wondering, they reckon that within the next 5 or 10 years, there will reach a point where we would be forced to cross the Rubicon, ready or not. And as we do that, we will enter a point where climate change will be not only irreversible, but uncontrollable. Now, that was also, now, you think about hearing something like that, you will think that, oh, well, we may make these tasks within the certain years. But as you may be hearing from the big groups, such as like the things from Amazon, all the way down to like Land Rover and all the big mega giants in industry, they're claiming that the car cars, what, 2025, 2030, 2020, 2035, 40, right? All those years. And the problem I got is if that is the case, then will this see a gradual, if we're going to like say make target, say, okay, well, we're going to make a target, we're going to count out 2040, right? We're going to, and we're going to take our time over it, which is wisdom, which you should always take your time over it, because the thing is, by doing it that way, is it like saying, oh, we're going to take our time doing it? Or is it saying, oh, we're going to do it, but until then, we're going to just be a bit dependent, to make everybody a bit happy. So let's stick with certain things. We're going to stick with fuel for a little bit, and we're going to stick with this for a little bit. Or what you could get is, you will get, or what you will get is, you will get like people which are going to panic all over the place, like pigeons saying, oh, goodness, we're going to say, oh, the mountain cars, quick, we need to ban fossil fuels. We need to quick for electric. We need to go green quickly before it happens. And for me, I just think to myself, well, all you're doing is you're not thinking of climate that way. You're just thinking about the fear of what climate change does. So I just think, in my opinion, the way to tackle climate change isn't by, call Mr. Wang in a press conference if everyone gets heated up, for goodness sake, yeah, don't panic, it's then you're making a web recording. But I just think that we just need to take our time, think these things over, and we need to, rather than phase out the fossil fuels straight away, we need to question them. And we need to question them and say, okay, well, do we really need coal? Or if we don't need coal, for example, so one argument I had is coal or gas. Because one argument is, why don't we phase out gas and oil? Why, in that sense, phase it out? Where, in a way, you could say, okay, well, what can we use coal for? Okay, well, we're not going to bother using it for copper, let's phase it out. Okay, well, we're not going to mine it, let's phase that out as well. So, what else can we use coal for? Okay, well, what we could do is we could use coal for things like vintage steam places or like steam museums, that kind of thing. Okay, so we can use coal, we can only use coal for vintage steam places or things which needs to be powered by coal. So, by using that way, you can phase out certain bits of questioning about certain fuels. So, for example, take oil. Okay, so we're phasing out oil. So we don't need diesel, but there could be some things we do need diesel, so we may need to keep those. When it comes to innovation, until we find suitable technologies, we can, I don't know, what we could do is we could somewhat, try to modernize, we could try to limit using certain fuels or try to make certain fuel mixtures a bit, which don't necessarily create a lot of CO2.
Have you a top tip, Michael? Because I know you're very passionate about, and we don't have a lot of time left. Do you have a top tip for the environment?
Yeah, which I'm about to get to in just a sec.
Thanks, sir.
That kind of thing. So that's the main thing about the environment. We should not look at it. When it comes to your top tips, my recommend is take your time. When it comes to the environment, take your time and figure things out. Because the reason why I say that we need to take time of figuring about the environment is simply because that the problem with climate change is not just about the structure of it, it's about what fuels climate change. For example, people going, for example, for those who are vegetarian or vegan, listen to this channel, you will know where I'm coming to a bit. If you are producing from meat, then you will also maybe be finding this interesting. The problem with climate change is certain jobs which fuel climate change, such as cows, methane, that kind of thing, are very embedded into society. So for example, you've got meat. For example, last time I called, nearly 1 billion people on the planet. Yes, take that into account. Over 1 billion people living on this planet work in some type of meat industry, or they work in a way which handles meat. You've got some jobs, such as offshore gas and certain jobs, which have to require workers to work things out. And it's not necessarily a good thing that green energy can come to the forefront, because the major thing the reason why you need to take things serious, you need to figure all these things out. Like, okay, so say for example, there was this coal plant, and you're going to phase it out because you want to go green. The things that you need to think about is, one, how do you deal with all those people who work there? Two, if you're going to make it, how will that help the community? And the third thing is, how can you convert all those people which used to work in those industries and make it to these clean industries? Because by not looking at the bigger picture, all you're just doing is you're thinking, oh well, green energy is the future. Yes, green energy is going to save us. Yes, bring out the Green Lantern. Yes, we're going to save the planet by getting all these green jobs at the expense jobs. Because at the end of the day, you got to think stuff. For example, take the meat industry. Rather than just saying, oh, we need to go vegan, that kind of thing. What if you think about ways of trying to produce methane? For example, let's say I was reading this interesting topic about methane, and they're working out, scientists have found out that by cows eating seaweed reduces methane by up to 50%. Now, for me, I find that interesting because there's your answer. You've found something to reduce methane.
There's my answer too, Michael. I was eating methane. I'm quite a high producer of methane, for anybody who knows me well. And I was eating some seaweed last night. It's good.
There you go. So you just found it. Or
I needed to talk to you sooner.
Yeah, I know. Funny is the right. Or if you look at, we look at certain, I know. But if you look at 50%, was that, for me, that's how you sort it. Maybe get cows which don't need a lot of space, or maybe or maybe train cows not to just eat grass, but eat a certain type of mixture when they're born. So as you do that, they will slowly, their bodies will get adapted and reduce this methane. And that for me, is how you do it. You don't think, oh, you know, for the sake of running, you sacrifice everything, actually on this. Things like that actually help. For example, a good example of this is take, for example, in the United States in Pennsylvania. Across Pennsylvania, which is the same United States, because you're wondering where the hate Pennsylvania. All across Pennsylvania, it's known as the Rust Belt because all those industries were dirty industries, so that's your coal and bone fire. But the major problem was as these industries were phased out, and as many of these people had to depend on these industries, and because there was no new industries coming in, many of the people suffered on the roadside. As much as what happened to Detroit with the Ford plant was that when that closed, the whole of the community suffered. And the problem I'm mainly concerned about this personally for, you know, I do care of the working man and that kind of thing, even though I may not sound socialist of that structure. I just think that until you get those jobs in quick enough, or you build the jobs around the community, or when you're ready, when the community, and when you are ready, getting all these jobs all together. So, for example, say for example, you've got a village, everyone wants to do this industry. What you do is slowly but surely, you put all these kilns slowly around the area, but you don't want to do it too quickly, otherwise the community are going to think, oh, well, here's a clean industry. They're going to get their own business. So you need to just slow around the village, and then when you're ready, you think there's another clean industry. All you do is you simply shut that dirty industry down and you convert it. Because what happens? You just make jobs. People can go there and they have a full safe and something goes wrong. So the thing is, it's also communities as well, because I think that's what we're forgetting. It's about if you shut down all these industries and you shut them all down, what's going to happen to those communities which depended on those industries? Like, so for example, someone was a steel worker and he was learning how to make steel from coal. All his life, he knows how to make steel. But when that plant shuts down, oh dear, he can't go straight to a clean industry because all his life he was doing that. And he knows that if he continues, it will take several years for him to train it. Whilst you people who just joined the industry may have a chance of evolving. Because here's a great example of what I mean from this. Now, take steam trains. Everyone likes a good steam train, eh? Like Thomas the Tank Engine, all that kind of thing, for you, that kind of thing, and shout out to all you steam lovers out there. And from Victoria period to 1948, everybody was into steam. People say steam was this big thing, steam was this great, and everyone was part of it, from the steam train drivers to the people with the water, and everyone in the chain did something to keep the service running. When it came to for the likes of running like steam trains. But when the war ended and diesel and electric trains were becoming more affordable and fuels became more affordable, all of a sudden overnight, all these people which were trained to become steam engineers, down for donkey's years, just started, that kind of thing, all their livelihoods were afloat. Because they didn't know how the steam train thing was going to be. They didn't know about, how bright open to happen and what about on their livelihoods. And slowly but surely, one by one, all these people who learned how to do steam trains were phased out of prime steam trains, and they were learning how to do things like diesel trains, electric trains, something they were not used to. And by the time they finally got used to it, they were either at the point where they were about to retire, or they were approaching retirement, or they were just about to retirement, or they were considering think about plans to retire. And over time, as steam train came and diesels came, whereas all those people used to run those certain industries, from the people who drive steam trains, to the people who funded the steam trains with the coal and the water, and all these people, including the stations as well, were all phased out, and all of their livelihoods which was on the radio station for decades, were at risk. Until that is, they started to find ways of trying to get used to these new industries, but by then the damage was already done. And personally, for me, how you do it is the one thing you should always do, even if it may not sound popular, is you should always think about the communities. Because at the end of the day, it's all good that we're talking about the environment. It's all good that, green change is happening. But at the end of the day, you need to get those people used to running these dirty industries on side with you. Because if you suddenly say, oh, we're going to ban all petrol cars tomorrow, or you're going to say, oh, we're going to take down an offshore rig, that all those people which had to rely on that rig may find it very difficult to convert to new industries, because there's either that's the only industry they know, or they're too far away, and they may have to move to other cities to meet these industries. So by doing so, you're seeing like reduced city growth and that kind of thing. So my big top tip is take your time, think of these things out, and above all, do not get carried away about this green revolution, because if you get too carried out of the way, then you may see a lot of people, you may use a lot of people at the roadside maybe later on.
Thanks, Michael. That's really, really insightful. I know we're getting near the end. I want to throw in our this or that. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can just choose one or the other, and then we'll get on to what's next, the future, and your thank yous.
Right.
Is that okay? Okay, so this or that. Do you like to listen to music on your headphones or on speakers?
Ooh.
Oh,
that's a bit of a tricky question, because how I see it is, it all depends. Because if you're a person who likes to go on the move, and just likes to listen to music, you won't mind doing, speaks. You might mind doing that. But if you're like in the vibe, you want to chill out and just sit down and listen to music and just get out of a Coke and drink it and just don't give a hey. And yeah, that'd be good, because the thing with headphones and speakers, I know they may look a bit irrelevant to each other. They're somewhat different meanings. If you're a movable guy who likes to listen to music, that's for you. Or speakers just slow down. But for me personally, I'm partially a speakers guy, because the thing with headphones is, unless of course you get those nice big headphones like Dr. Beats or something, you can hear the music. Unless it comes to, you can hear the guy's music. For example, there was once I sat on the bus with someone, and I had all his music so loud. I thought to myself, what the hell? So loud. I thought to myself, why the hell are you making music so loud? And I thought to myself, well, these poor ears, they must be getting the battery. So, unless of course you get like cancellation headphones or those nice big headphones,
you can invest in them.
I'm more of a speaker guy, because you know that you can control the volume, and so long as it's not so too complex, or you don't have those dodgy fidgety buttons, which you may actually skip the song as you skip the song rather than listening to the song you want to. Yeah, I'm more of some speakers on that front.
Would you like to go to a festival, or would you like to go to a rave?
Oh, now that is what I'm that's a bit of a tricky question, but I think I would like to go to a festival personally, because I've been to waves, and I'm not really the wave type of guy. I'm not the guy who gets a lot of like juggle masters, throw down the float, jump out, jump on the floor, get his top and wave like it's a dodgy Gangnam Style move, and just go out and see some dodgy sea shanty that you just slurred about, and afterwards you just like hit the hay as if like instead of hit there, as if like you're in some sort of dodgy commercial.
Would you prefer vinyl or Spotify? So it's the online version versus the
Like,
tangible you can touch and see and feel.
that again is another tricky question because I actually like both.
Hmm.
One hand I like vinyl because I actually do got a vinyl player. Actually, if I actually do got a vinyl player because what's so great about vinyl is how it's come back. I don't know how it's how it's coming back vinyl, and that's what I actually like about vinyl because I like you sit down the speakers, you're actually listening to the music and the crackling and what's going to see the disc spinning, you actually hear the music right close up. But Spotify allows really great to listen to all the music. One thing I'm over here is about they cheeky put in adverts like in Blex or every 3 songs that put an advert like that somewhat irritates me sometimes. So I think for that one I'm more of a vinyl player.
Cool. DJ or band?
Oh, I would probably be. Well, the thing is, that's too intriguing because I haven't experienced being a DJ and not necessarily in a band. So I probably would say in that front, I would like to try to have tips being a DJ. I know that the problem with DJs, you need to get certain vinyls. So, for example, you may need to go like Grease is the word versus like Grease is the word to pump up the volume, and it may not sound awkward because you may get like Grease is the pump up.
I'd come to you. I'd come to your gig.
Yeah, well, you're gonna get more like Grease is the pump up, Grease is the pump up, and when you're gonna get people goes to like, hey man, what Grease pump are you talking about? Oh no, we're talking about that hot boy in the car. No, dear, I'm talking about this new talking about this interesting talking about this great balsamic vinegar that I'm just drinking. Yes, called Grease Pump Up, that country. I think I'd be until I get experience being a DJ, I would like to try I think a band, to be honest. Because I've always wanted to try out, always thinking on bass and learn the guitar riffs and that kind of thing. As well as so I think on that front, I may want to become a band member.
Cool, band member it is. And last but not least, from my side of things, would you like to dance or would you just like to listen to the music?
But now that's a bit tricky. But it all depends on what type of music you like. So, for example, if you're like a guy who likes a bit of boogie nights or like a bit of so you're a guy likes boogie nights, or you're one of these guys. These guys like to listen to a bit of essentially on thief and not going to the dance floor, do some silly moves as if they're doing traffic backwards and forwards. That's good for you. But your guy just like listen to music, sit down, listen to music, that kind of thing. That's good, but you could like get some key moments really. So firstly, I'm a bit of both.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, like good dancing, like good singing, but when the situation was like good dancing. So it's not too fast, none of this Chris Crawl or John Too Smooth, that kind of stuff.
What next, Michael? What's on your agenda? What are you looking forward to in the future?
Oh, well, David, the plan I got in the future is quite exciting because I've got big plans, hopefully, which I hope I can execute within the coming months or maybe, years. But what I was thinking about doing was I was thinking about starting to get more into sports and thinking about doing more outdoor events or doing more outdoor stuff. While at the same time think about new ways about how I could move forward. One thing I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about doing archery and I'm thinking about doing taking up archery because the funny thing about that was I was thinking about taking it up for quite a while now, but when the pandemic hit, that had to be put on the back burner. So hopefully when the pandemic some passes, touch wood, I would like to try and take up. Yeah, I would like to try and take up sports and take up sports and take up sports and take up sports and take up sports, and I do archery and yeah, try to do more do more outdoor active, as well as hopefully to take up photography and trying to think about how I can take that far as a career. So at the end of the day, it's quite blight, very blight about what I'm able to do at the moment. Touch wood. But yeah, but yeah, and I may sort of may need to be a bit planned and need to figure some stuff out. At the end of the day, yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, at the end of the day, it should be very interesting.
Well, you know we're here to support you,
Oh
and
yeah.
we're here to make your future work. So always know that that team is a strong team, and it's your team.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody you'd like to say thank you to, or anybody you'd like to acknowledge, Michael? This would be a perfect
Yes.
time to shine the light on them.
Yes. First of all, if any of you have been somewhat inspired, I don't necessarily, but I don't expect necessarily someone useful, but if some of you have been inspired for what I've been saying, or you've been quite interested about where sort of things you want to take from there, shouts I recommend to, I would shout to Wishful Content College, because I think that you want to get into gardening, that's a great way to do it. Also say a big shout out to Bedford FC and all the supporters out there. I know that I know it may sound tricky at first, but I think you're doing very well, and I hope that you get promoted. So that's another thing. Another thing, my announcements, a shout out, another announcements which I also personally recommend is that a shout out to another thing which I personally acknowledge is a quick shout out. Yeah, quick shout out to all the sea enthusiasts, God bless Steam, all the people which are working on environmental projects and that kind of thing. Another thing which I also give a quick shout out is if you're really interested in any of what is happening with the environment and how what's going to really happen, I recommend that you should look at certain sites which tell you about the environment and what the impacts happened. And also what I recommend is a quick shout out that just look at certain sites that quick shout out is do your analysis, because the do your analysis that will be absolutely great. For everyone, and my final shout outs, if I may say so, shout outs, TED Ed, a quick shout out to TED Ed, because I think it's a great site. If you don't know what TED Ed is, I would recommend you should check that out, because it gives you great facts about from the state of mind to how things are moving, how things move onwards. And if any of you are interested, shout there, and I give you, and my final shout outs are to the Discovery, History, National Geographic, documentary, Sky Documentaries, and Sky Nature, simply because it goes fascinating stuff about all the stuff that I just maybe said about the environment, and some of the documentaries are must watch, so I also recommend you to also look at that. And finally, my final shout out is to all the people which have already heard about this. So people which already know me, or they're just about to know me, or some people who just accidentally stumbled on heard my nice voice at the end of the day. Just want a very quick shout to them, and I hope they're okay, and hope they do well after that time.
Thanks so much, Michael. It has been a pure joy, a real insightful chat with you. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, it's great. I think what you're doing is great. I think your future is really bright. I'm so excited to be a part of that future with you. I know you said it in your chat about the community. You are a big part of our community, so never ever forget that.